Look, I'm going to level with you. The Romans perfected time travel. They did it sometime around 107 BC. And somehow, between reorganizing the army and becoming consul, Marius found the time, no pun intended, to develop mass, practical chronotransit. Yes, we have proof. And no, you're not cleared for it, and you wouldn't believe me if I showed it to you. And no, it has nothing to do with the Library of Alexandria. Look, the point is that they never got around to using it. About 1,000 years later, the device had made its way to Baghdad when the Mongols invaded. Now, you haven't heard about the great Mongol time armies because Genghis didn't see too many applications for the thing. It took too long to figure out how to operate for one. And besides, why mess around with barbarian technology when a horse could take you anywhere you wanted to go? But when the great Khan died, after falling off a horse of all things, he asked for an unmarked grave, and by God, an unmarked grave is what he was going to get. His most trusted adjutants started looking for a burial spot nobody would find, somewhere suitable for really eternal rest. And that's when some enterprising captain turned to the machine to find a future where the Khan had been forgotten. It kind of makes sense. Genghis could rest all the better if they let time do the hard work of erasing his name first. Rule number 1 of this post is that we don't know a lot about these guys, where or when they've been or are going, how they've survived, even how they've been navigating all this time. Mongols weren't much for writing things down, and as the Hordet has never stayed in the timeline for more than 24 hours, we've never really gotten a hold of one to ask them anything. We know the departure was successful because they keep making social calls. They've jumped in 3 times so far, in 1631 outside of Magdeburg, and again in Japan during the Warring States business. They left pretty quickly both times, presumably as soon as they figured out that the Mongols hadn't been forgotten yet. Our only first-hand information comes from the Ulaanbaatar sighting in 85, and that's how we know they've learned to read. Containment has 2 parts. Each arrival emits a specialized radiation that the scientist upstairs can monitor. If they manifest, an MTF will go check things out, but don't hold your breath. Second part is keeping Genghis's memory alive so they don't stop roaming. That's where you and I come in. We're low-key, it's accounting work, really. Sponsor a blockbuster here, fund a grant there. We've got about $20 million in our endowment, so you know what? Don't let that go to your head. Director Sarangarel informs me that upper management would love to give us the axe. Just liquidate our budget and assign the case to general monitoring, that nobody is less likely to be forgotten than Temujin. And maybe they're right. The Foundation deals with 100 critters a day more likely to do damage than the little horde that could. I say, go and read about the sack of Baghdad and the fall of the Tangut Empire, the Battle of Leipzig, and the depopulation of Persia, not to mention the destruction of Magdeburg, which I know our boys had a hand in, even if there's no records of it. You ask me, it's not the public we're here to remind. Now, eventually the horde is going to stop. If the machine doesn't break, they'll find the oblivion they're looking for, or get tired of wandering and stop anyway. You think 200 Mongol couldn't cause too much trouble now? Well, remember, we're talking about 200 of the fiercest and smartest of the Horde, which conquered everything from Korea to Kiev, who broke empires with bows for their Khan when he was alive and are journeying hundreds of years from him now that he's dead. They have no fear of the future, and they know just what our world has to offer. Oh, and they have 500,000 loyal soldiers waiting back in 1227 with access to a time machine. You think they'll just go on home after a trip like that?